The internet is a marvel. Thanks to this miraculous tool, we can see places and periods we would never have been able to see ourselves. It can also give us ideas for our next holiday destination, all thanks to its extraordinary capacity for sharing and storing pictures. Today, we present the unseen side of some of the world's most famous destinations taken by some of the most daring photographers of history. 1969 was the year Neil Armstrong became the first man to walk on the moon. This was part of the Apollo 11 mission, which Armstrong commandeered next to Lunar Module pilot Buzz Aldrin and Command Module pilot Michael Collins. The mission lasted a little over a week, and the world watched it from their television sets. Few people were prouder than Armstrong's family. This picture is proof. Here is a rare point of view of his wife and sons during the launch of the historic mission. It seems like something out of a movie, but this picture was taken on March 20, 1980, in Yale Lake during one of the worst volcanic eruptions in the modern history of the U.S. A 4.2 earthquake shook the area, then a second shock, this time of 5.1 on the Richter scale. A few weeks later, it caused Mt. Helens to erupt. This water skier probably has a great story to tell. There's nothing bolder than water skiing while a volcano belches sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. Egypt is home to the Giza pyramids, and on the same plateau, the marvelous Sphinx stands proud and tall. We've all seen the pictures. It has been referenced over and over in media throughout the years, the limestone statue of a mythical beast with a lion's body and a human head. This is a point of view we've never seen before. And chances are that, unless you've personally been there, you haven't either. Who would have known that the Sphinx's view is panoramic of the city, not the desert dunes? Mount Rushmore is an emblematic American monument on the Black Hills of South Dakota. It features the faces of 4 presidents: George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, and Theodore Roosevelt. This is a picture of what the monument was supposed to look like, according to the original artist, Gutzon Borglum. The presidents were supposed to have whole bodies. But because of delays, lack of funding, and the incoming war, they had to stop the construction in 1941 and settle with only portraits. Photographer Stephen McCurry took a series of portraits during the 80s that are mesmerizing, but Afghan Girl became one of the world's most recognizable pictures. It was featured in 1985 on the front of National Geographic magazine and now has gone down in history. Sharbat Gula was only a child when she had to leave her home and go to Pakistan during the Soviet-Afghan War. She was in a refugee camp when McCurry took these pictures. Her piercing green eyes and beauty have become a symbol for refugees worldwide. The Price is Right is the longest-running game show in history. It first aired in 1956 and has been loved by audiences ever since. The classic game has been adapted for different countries such as the United Kingdom, Mexico, India, and Australia. The centerpiece of the game show is the massive wheel the contestants spin to earn their money prizes. In this picture, we get a peek at what this iconic wheel looks like behind the scenes, and it's definitely not as luxurious as the front. Although Niagara Falls has never been completely empty, in 1969, it was nearly so for several months. U.S. Army engineers built a temporary dam to study rock formations and to perform scientific studies. They hadn't counted on the hordes of tourists wishing to see the iconic falls almost completely dry. People were able to walk on what usually is a roaring waterfall. When the dam was opened, everything returned to normal. The event served as a reminder of how vital the falls are for the region. Probably the world's most famous cabaret, Moulin Rouge, is an iconic spot in Paris. Open since 1889, it has been frequented by artists, celebrities, and thousands of spectators wishing to see one of the most provocative shows on Earth. This picture is very different from what we're used to, far from the glamour of Toulouse-Lautrec's paintings and Baz Luhrmann's movie. Here the showgirls are getting ready in a very humble manner. They seem to have fun while doing their makeup and dressing up for the show. This uncommon picture shows a fantastic view of the construction of the Manhattan Bridge from the Robert Gere building. Although the construction started in June 1908, it wasn't open for traffic until late December 1909. This magnificent engineering feat, designed by Leon Solomon Moisseiff, caused quite a controversy when it was named. Because it was the last of 3 suspension bridges to connect the East River, there was an argument that it should have a historical or geographically significant name and that all of the bridges were Manhattan bridges. Mount Fuji is a symbol of Japan's beautiful natural landscapes. The mountain has a remarkable triangular shape that makes it very recognizable. Usually, it's very difficult to photograph the mountain because of low-hanging clouds, but this photographer was in luck. This sunrise picture shows the mountain's majestic shadow over the valley. It almost looks like somebody painted the figure over the landscape because of how perfectly clear it is. If you look closely, the tip even seems to have a little snow, common for Mount Fuji. This picture might seem familiar to those who know basketball, but even if you don't, you'll recognize you've seen it before. This picture was taken in 1969, and a few months later, it was used as inspiration to create the NBA logo that is still used. The player here is Jerry West, who played for the Los Angeles Lakers for 14 years, and later became a coach for the same team. It has never been confirmed nor denied that this picture inspired the iconic logo. Any person on social media has seen pictures of someone doing yoga or meditating in the Gate of Heaven in Bali. This spot is especially famous among influencers and internet personalities, characterized by a crystal clear lake under the 2 stone structures. However, the problem is it's nothing like the pictures in real life. In reality, this temple has been subject to the magic of photography tricks and even Photoshop by local photographers that offer the service to tourists. We can't believe how bamboozled we were by the #Gates of Heaven hashtag. Many people have seen the picture lunch atop a skyscraper. It has been featured in postcards, referenced in films, and used as publicity for various campaigns. It depicts 11 construction workers eating lunch while sitting on a beam during the construction of the Rockefeller Center. The beam was over 840 feet tall, and while these men casually took their lunch break, photographer Charles Ebbets snapped a picture that would become an icon of New York's history. This is a lesser-known picture of Mr. Ebbets in action. The magic of cinema often relies on practical tricks that look funny in real life. In this case, the crew of James Cameron's Titanic had to experiment with many techniques to acquire the look they needed for the film. The 1997 movie won 11 of its 14 Oscar nominations and was a massive blockbuster upon its release. Today, it's still remembered as one of the movies that marked cinema history, and for the online debate of whether Jack, played by a young Leonardo DiCaprio, could have survived.